Golly, that's good.
I cracked myself up. I still haven't found my first Blanton's. That's different. I really like that.
They're like together, like peas and carrots.
That's funny. Sometimes accidents are good things. Peychauds or Pechaud's or Pechaud. This is not what I expected. It's good to be back live. We did the pre-recorded thing for the last 2 weeks in a row, and one day it worked out, the next time it worked, or the first time it didn't work out, the second time it did work out. Neither one of those times did I feel like I was connecting. But here we are. And we're going to do this with Old Forester. It's right here on my shirt. You'd think I'd be able to remember. Had to wear an overshirt because I think I've gotten a little bit bigger, or the shirt shrank. I'm not sure which, so we're going with the overcoat. All right, Old Forester Statesman. It's one. Hey, Austin's here. Larry is here. Hey guys, I'm so glad you're here. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been here live, and it's so nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Old Forester Statesman. This is a straight bourbon. That means it's been at least 2 years sitting nice and pretty inside a, love me some Old Forester, me too, Austin. At least 2 years sitting inside a nicely newly charred oak barrel. So it has to be 2 years for it to be a straight bourbon. Now, it has to be over 4 years if it wants to avoid having to put an age statement on the bottle. This has no age statement, so they're saying from an old press release that it's like a 5-year bourbon. I saw somewhere else where it could be a mix between 4-year and 6-year bourbons, but we're going to go with the 5-year because the math works out. Why not, right? Let's see. According to the website, Statesman is a blend of hand-selected casks from the warmest place in the warehouse. Just doesn't it fill you with hugs? All right, so what I did with this is I did pour it out, and then I poured it back in. And I just did that like 15 minutes ago, so I'm not expecting much, but it should at least have something different on it than the neck pour. Neck pour, I'm really hesitant to believe in that, but gosh, there've just been so many that I've poured out and I didn't enjoy, and then I let them sit for a couple of weeks, and then I enjoyed them a lot more. So I guess that means I believe in the neck pour. I don't know. It's not there for everything, though. However, the Stag Junior that we drank last week, if you missed it, I revisited Stag Junior, which is now just Stag, but this was the 2020 release of Stag. 2019, maybe. Anyway, it was Stag 13. It was a great batch. And I'm not going to tell you. If you didn't watch it, you have to go back and watch it and see what I thought of it last week on the pre-recorded one. Okay. Old Forester Statesman was originally released as a tie-in with a movie, the 2017 movie Kingsman: The Golden Circle. A lot of times when they do that, now Old Forester's a different breed altogether, you know that, but a lot of times when people release a movie whiskey, and there have been a few, and we've talked about a few, maybe they're not so good. But this one has stuck around, so maybe it's pretty decent. We're going to find out. It's Brown-Forman, the Old Forester Distilling Company. Original release was July 2017, but it continues to come out. It's 95 proof. No age statement on the bottle, which means it's at least 4 years old. Mash bill on this is 72% corn, 18% rye, 10% malted barley. That 18% rye is right at that cusp, right at that little spot where you could start to say, it's almost a high rye, but not quite there. Not quite a high rye. But close. If it were 20%, I'd say, yeah, it's a high rye. 21% is definitely a high rye. This is 18, so it's flirting with it a little bit. This is, by the way, the exact same mash bill as a lot of other stuff that Old Forester has on the shelves, including the Old Forester 86 proof, which is like the bottom of the barrel, right? I think it's tasty, and it's a great entry-level bourbon, but the 86 proof is on that list, as well as the 1870, the 1910, which is double-barreled. Same mash bill, just 2 barrels. Old Forester Signature, the Bottled and Bond, the 1897 Bottled and Bond. Landon's watching. Hey, Landon, how are you? The 1897 Bottled and Bond and the new-ish 100 proof single barrel. Now, what makes them different? If they're all the same mash bill, what makes them different? Well, proof, for one. This mash bill in all these different products runs the gamut from 86 proof to 100 proof. That's part of it. Also, the place in the rick house. So this is a mixture of, a bunch of stuff, and then they set it in the warmest place in the rick house. So that's going to have something to do with it. The barrels and the toasting is going to have something to do with it. Is it the same toast as everything else? Just because the juice that goes inside is the same doesn't mean that it's in the same barrel as everything else. So maybe they charred just the ends, or maybe they charred the insides and only toasted the ends. Who knows what? The other thing, too, is it is a blend. So it could simply be the blend that makes it different, but it is indeed the same mash bill as those other things. So runs $56.99 in the state of Ohio. A lot of people have said, "Oh, I like that pour, but it's too expensive." $56.99. These days, it's getting to be a pretty decent price point nowadays. They're just going up and up and up. All right, I have not tried the Old Forester Statesman before. I have tried to be honest with you in the things that I've tried before. I also try to do most of these Bourbcasts in such a way that they are bourbons that I haven't tried before. So when I taste them for the first time, I taste them for you on camera. I've got some I'm going to highlight here in just a minute, some I picked up that I'm going to show you that I haven't opened and I've never tried. That's the search now, is to find bottles I've never tried. And there are a lot. This is Bourbcast 140. 140. So I've had 139 different pours. I screwed up and did Russell's Reserve twice. Russell's Reserve 10-year, did that one twice. So 139 different pours, but this is Bourbcast 140. And I've got a lineup. Right now I'm trying to fill that lineup up to number 200. Can you imagine having 200 different bourbons in the house and staying married? Stay married. Okay. All right. Let's give this the gauntlet. Ooh, the nose is nice. Whew, okay. Let's clean out the olfactories. Okay. All right. It's been a couple of weeks since I've done this, so I'm a little out of practice. Caramel's hitting me hard. Caramel, cinnamon, vanilla, a lot of those normal notes that you get. Old Forester is so good with their just fantastic flavorings. And if this is the same mash bill as everything else that I've liked, I'm going to like this. This is not considered part of Whiskey Row. That series is about, the numbers, the 1897, the 2010, the 20, or 1910, 1920, 2010. All right. No, I didn't stay married, Tom. Duh. That's the point. All right. She and I walked out of the liquor store one day. I just made a purchase, and I think it might have been the last purchase I made while we were still married. And she's like, "Did you just spend over $400 on liquor?" Yeah. How much did you spend on shoes? How many shoes you got in your closet? My grandmother backed her up one time, though. I was picking on my ex about her shoes, and my grandmother goes, "I like shoes." Thanks, Grandma. Just a slight astringency. Tiny astringency on there. Just tiny. I read somewhere else online that somebody didn't have any astringency, and well, they had opened it and let it sit for 9 months. So duh. I opened it, poured it out, and poured it back in today. So it might have a little astringency in it. That's okay. I was with a group of guys, and one of the gentlemen is a Scotch guy. He loves his Scotch. And he noticed how much attention I put on the nose, and he came up specifically to to thank me. He said, "I'm really glad you give the nose so much attention. Nobody does that. They just go right for it." It's like, no, you gotta sense it. I got a nose like this. I got to use it. All right. There's some nice honey notes there too. Caramel's jumping out at me. It's not a salted caramel. It's just a nice caramel, and it's not a dark toffee-ish type of caramel. It's just a nice caramel, but that is just a little bit of a honey to it. So slight sense of an orange citrus. One of the things I like about Old Forester is the complexity in them. And I'm looking forward to seeing if this is as complex as some of the other ones. Like the 1920 blows me away. It's so good, and it's so complex, and it's doing so much. I'm wanting to know if this is going to be the same. I got just a little hint of mint on that one. That's why it's nice to go back to the nose more than once. You know, you're going to pick up all these different scents. And you're not going to get it every single time. And as you do it, you'll pick up more and more and more. And that's why it's nice to articulate it and have other people around and things like that. Because, you know, if they didn't sense mint on the nose, and you did, you say it, and they go, really? And maybe they will. Got a little bit Cracker Jack. That's that sweet caramel flavor or scent I'm getting is kind of a Cracker Jack. Huh. All right, let's go for it. Here we go. All right. Very interesting bloom. So this is 95 proof. It sits about right. The proof is just about right in my mouthfeel. But the bloom that I talk about, the bloom, for those of you just joining, we had a couple of new people come on today. Thank you so much for doing that. The bloom is a coffee term, but I use it to describe that burn on the tongue. I don't like calling it burn because it's not a fair statement. It's not a fair word. So I say bloom because sometimes that burn starts in the center of your tongue and moves out. Sometimes it stays put. Sometimes it starts up here and goes backward. Sometimes it'll burn at the top and not on the top. It's fun to explore how different pores will affect your palate. This one is kind of funny. The bloom was fast, kind of started in the center and went out and back at the same time, and then went away. And then once I put it down the gullet, it came back, which is, I don't know that I've ever had one that it came back after I swallowed it. Mouth wide, not just in the back of my throat like Basil Hayden or some garbage, but all over. Really cool. All right, let's go for flavor on this one. Those notes are a little bit tougher to pick out. This does not have the complexity of 1920. It has the sweetness of 1910. It has the mouthfeel of 1910. 1910 tends to be a little bit more mellow on the tongue. Statesman is very much the same way. Mr. Miller is watching. Hello. I didn't have my glasses on. I couldn't read the whole thing. I'm sorry. I just saw Miller. I got that part. Didn't get the first part. But I'm glad you're here. Thank you for watching. So this is a very mellow pour. Although it's 95 proof, I would put this along with bourbons for people who aren't really into bourbon yet. Because, again, that bloom is not going to fire you up. It's not super hot. It's got a nice sweetness to it, although it's really tough to pick out why. What is it that's sweet about it? Because Again, the flavors are not complex. There's nothing jumping out at me going, I taste this, I taste this. I'm looking for those flavors. And where I got a lot of complexity and a lot of very specific notes on the nose, I'm not getting them on the palate. So let me go back to it again. Ray's watching. Hey, Ray. How are you, man? Okay. So, I'm getting bananas and hazelnut. It's very nice. One of the reviewers I read called it fruity. I don't think it's fruity. It's got a sweetness to it. But I wouldn't consider bananas fruity, even though they're a fruit. I wouldn't call bananas fruity. So I'm getting a banana sense out of this, and I cannot tell you. The finish is giving me a little black cherry, on the finish. It took a minute. It took a second to get there. No banana on the finish, at least not much. But the black cherry is there, like way out in left field on the finish. Let's go for one more and then we'll put some water on it. Okay, now that I've identified the black cherry, it is there. There's also I'm going to call it walnuts. I know I said hazelnut, and I'm going to stick with that, but there's, I think, a little bit of walnut in there too. A little bit sweeter than a pecan. Yeah, walnut. Yeah. So, very interesting pour. I like it. It doesn't have the traditional notes that I would normally want in a bourbon, but it doesn't have notes that are so far out in left field that I don't dig it. You know, I like this. I don't know why I like it because it's just different. It's not like the other Old Foresters, even though it has the same mash bill. Add about a milliliter of water. Give this a little, excuse me, goodness gracious, little twist. There's nothing affecting my palate either, by the way. I haven't eaten yet. So I will eat in a little bit, and then I'll be free. But I didn't want to eat before I had this, because too often I do eat before I have it, and then I'm done. I can't pick anything out. I'm also not getting those high rye notes. It's 18% rye, and I would expect to get more of the spiciness out of the rye at 18%. I'd expect to get some spiciness out of that rye, and I'm not, which is interesting. It has, though, I can't do it without my glasses, doggone it. 10% malted barley, so, and 72% corn. So the 10% malted barley is a higher amount of malted barley. Normally you see 5-6% in a bourbon. This has got 10%, so that may be knocking down some of the spice of the rye, even though that rye's at 18%. In just a minute, I'm gonna let you know what we're doing next week. It's a surprising pour from a surprising place. And I'll also let you know what I picked up when I was out of town last week, so, because I'm kind of happy about it. All right, here we go. On water. Just brought out some of the same flavors, but more of it. It opened it up a little bit. Thank you for the like. Appreciate that. Um, Bananas, little honey, little caramel. Uh, Not getting as much of the black cherry now. No, it's still there. And so's the walnut. So it just opened it up a little bit. And maybe it would open up on its own now that it's open. And if I let it sit for 9 months like the other dude did, maybe I'll get all those flavors and it'll be open and I won't have to worry about putting any water on it. But it added a little bit of the flavor to it. It just opened it up. Mouth feels nice. I won't say it's anything unusual or particularly creamy. It's definitely a filtered bourbon. They didn't leave it unfiltered. It's filtered, but it doesn't have a thin mouthfeel at all. Matter of fact, I think the water added a little silkiness to it, just a little bit, not enough to really. There was a note there. I wish I could tell you what it was. Something hit my palate, and it was different, and I don't know what it was. It was succulent, whatever it was, savory even. I don't know, just multiple pours. You never know what you're going to find. It was on the side of my tongue over here. I have no idea what that was. Maybe it was meat. I don't think it was meat. How would you like that? A meat-flavored bourbon. You know, Arby's has a bourbon. Yeah, we got the meats. Arby's has a bourbon. Now, I do that. I make a big, I do all that. But but the truth of the matter is some people like it. And I've never tried it, so I can't say a darn thing about it. But some people like it, and if some people like it, maybe I'll like it. I don't know. I don't know everything. I'll see if I can find a bottle of it. That was one of the themes of our trip. we were talking about things. It's funny. Okay. I crack myself up for crying out loud. Little cinnamons. Just imagine taking a banana and crushing walnuts all over it and adding a little cinnamon. That's that. All right. It's gorgeous ice sphere time. You know, I made a couple of ice spheres, and I made them before I left, and I left them in the freezer, so they're still in the mold right now. That's fine. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Hope I don't break the mold, though. That's the thing I'm concerned about. Alrighty. Let's cool this down. Put it on a little bit of ice. Ice, not ass. Ice. I kind of went through this bottle a little bit. It's a good thing I like it, and it's a good thing I've got another one. And it's a good thing I have nowhere to go. Except for the kitchen. Slaving over a hot stove. Have to take my shoes off. Alright. And no, I'm not serving this to anybody else, so I would not put my finger in somebody else's drink. It's my drink. Put my finger in it all I want. All right. Let's see if it does anything on ice. I'm not a fan of ice. You know this. Yeah? But there are a few that surprise me. Let's find out. Nowhere in this bottle so far have I talked about oak. One of the things I think that's missing from the nose and the palate is oak. I like a little bit of oak in my pour, and I like it particularly with the 1910 double-barreled and the 1920. Very complex, nice oak, fits in with everything like a glove. This one didn't have it until now. I put it on ice, and the first thing I got is a little bit of oakiness. Heck, that's good. All the flavors I wasn't getting before that I wanted out of a bourbon, especially out of an Old Forester, they showed up on ice. That smoky oak, which I didn't realize how important that was to this pour until right now. Just added. This would be great with a smoked old fashioned. Put a little smoke in that. Or just smoked bourbon. Throw a little simple syrup in, just a little bit, and some black walnut bitters. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to reopen this, and I'm going to put in just a little bit more and cool it off because I want to see what else I'm going to get out of it. And let me do this while I'm cooling this off and go over to the app and see, love me some Old Forester. Just a couple of comments. Just a couple. That's fine. I'm glad you're here. Our YouTube subscribers keep going up. And I actually got a really, really nice compliment from somebody on YouTube who said that they thought that our production quality was better than most of the other bourbon reviews that they see online. I thought that was really, really nice because I really don't do anything. I mean, I got a nice camera and I got a nice microphone up here, but that they thought that our quality was really, really good. And that was really nice of them to say that. Little things like that. Words of affirmation. That does it for me. It's my love language. Okay, here we go. There's those bananas. That nice oaky, little honey. I actually may like this best over ice. It's got a lot of flavor on ice. Normally the flavors are muted, but this is bouncing out at me. Kevin is the one who suggested the Old Forester Statesman. I hadn't had it yet. He suggested this. This is a viewer suggestion, Kevin. And unfortunately, he's on a flight right now, and he can't drink it along with me, which is a real disappointment. Because I would have loved to have heard his take on this pour. So, all right. Well, I'm very satisfied. This was a very nice pour. I enjoyed it, strangely enough, mostly on ice. Because on ice it just brought out more of the oakiness, and I think that this pour needs that. I love the proof the way it is. It shouldn't be added to. It's just neat. It needs that oak, and it's not there. However, I do like it. I like it a lot. It's not my favorite Old Forester. 1920 is my favorite Old Forester. But I do like this. It's mellow. It's easy to drink. This is one that could easily become a staple if it wasn't, $57. That's the hard part. And I've had more than one person tell me, I don't like the price point on that. $57 is a little bit tough for this. But it's good. And it's worth the buy. Even if you only ever buy one and go through it and share it with friends and whatnot. Hey, a couple more likes. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's definitely a great pour, and not the best pour, but a good pour. Thank you. Another like. Yay! I'm very petty. I know that. All right, so next week, so let me go back in time just a little bit. Back in January, I've talked about this, I went to a tasting where we did 6 different single barrels of the Henry McKenna 10-year. From 2011, they were released in 2021. It's a 10-year, right? Math. I mathed. I can math. So I went to this, and we had 6 different bottles that came out 6 different times of the year. Some of them tasted a little musty. And I was talking about this today to somebody else. False Chord Brewing actually helped me pick out the photo that I was using for the Old Forester today. I took a bunch of different photos, and I couldn't decide which one I wanted to use. So the guys at False Chord Brewing did help me pick this out. I need to go back to this. There we go. Anyway, so I told them this too, is that, here you got this bourbon that I want to say the weather might have had something to do with it, but how could it? It's a 10-year. It was in those barrels for 10 years. It was pretty much stored in the same place in the rickhouse. And it's the same recipe. The only difference has to be in the barrels that it's set in, because some of them were musty. Some of them were very flavorful but had no finish. Some of them were very flavorful and had a finish. Some of them were icky and had a great, they were different. And so anyway, I was doing that tasting, and I was given this bottle of 1783. This is the Evan Williams 1783. It's just a tester bottle. And seeing how much of that I went through tonight, I will probably have to buy the bottle so I have a little bit of backup. Maybe I'll get like a little quart or something, or pint or whatever that. I think it's a pint. Get one of those and have it on standby for all the different pieces of the test that I do. But this was given to me as part of that tasting, the 1783 Evan Williams, and this is what we're going to do next week on Beautiful Bourbon. We will be here live. I don't know of any trips I'm taking in the future. So we'll be here live. Now, I want to show you what I picked up real quick. I'm kind of stoked about it because Ohio had the single barrel Saturday a while ago, and my goal was to get the Nulu straight bourbon. I like it. I've had it before. I like it. So I got that, but I didn't get the toasted barrel. Well, when I was in Louisiana, I picked up the toasted barrel. So I'm kind of stoked about this. We'll be trying this in just a couple of weeks. I've got it on the calendar, so we'll be doing that. And then I also picked up one I haven't seen anywhere yet, and that is the Blue Run Bourbon. Now, somebody told me they thought the rye was better. I don't know. I've never had either one of them. So, and they had a spot for the rye, but the rye was all sold out. So, maybe the rye is better because it was sold out and this wasn't. But I got this in a liquor store in Shreveport, Louisiana, a place that evidently you don't want to visit after dark. I'm hearing all sorts of terrible things about Shreveport. Just another one of them things, yo. So anyhow, but I picked up the Blue Run, and I'll be doing this in a few weeks as well. So you don't have to sit and wait for that. I'm teasing it now. But next week is the 1783 from Evan Williams. So thanks for watching. I do appreciate all of you sticking around and watching my silliness. And for those of you who joined us later, thank you for that as well. We are on YouTube, the new handle at Beautiful Bourbon. The website is woefully underkept up. It's a mess. But anyway, that's at beautifulbourbon.com. We are on Instagram at Beautiful Bourbon, and of course right here, and I'm sure I'll come up with something else one of these days. So for those of you that were new to the program, thank you for watching. I would love it if you'd tell people about us and share it. We do have some plans to do a new series that isn't this, it's something else. It may not happen this year, but I'm working on it. That's all I'm going to say. All right, guys. You guys have a fantastic what's left of your week and have a wonderful weekend. We will see you next... We will see you next week right here. Thanks for watching.